Hello, hello.
Hi there.
So
Good
nice
evening.
to see you
Good morning.
all. I want you to raise your hand if you watched the first program on energy reading. So basically, almost everyone, Milan, Michael, and I can't see two other people. No, okay. Okay, so then I'll have to explain a little bit more, and I guess repetition for others will be always good. As usually, I prepared a presentation, but my biggest challenge for today was to stay present with you and not to hide behind the slides. I know they are good looking usually with good visuals supporting what I'm trying to say, but today really my goal was to revisit my energy vision because this is the topic I absolutely love. I can talk about it for ages, and thanks to you, because some of you just confirmed that you watched the previous program and you were present last year, so you inspired me to start even writing a book about this, and you inspired me to start the search about this topic. So let me say, for those who didn't watch the previous program, I kind of developed, I can't say it vision or just the way of how I sense and feel this world, where abstract concepts like love, life, creation, manifestation, fear, almost anything I can describe in terms of energy, in terms of energy flow and certain dynamics. And I think this is not something which is psychic. It's more like a matter of connecting things together and being able to see these connections. And I also believe that if I share my vision, if I'm able to put it into metaphors, in language, in words, you could kind of try my glasses on. And after trying it, you will start seeing things and connecting the dots, because energy level is the most profound level. It's the common denominator for everything that's happening. If we are talking about physical, yes, I totally believe that non-physical is primordial, so to say. It comes first. Ideal spiritual, I use the words energy, spirit, light as synonyms. So I believe this ideal world comes first, consciousness comes first, and material world comes second, as a result of interplay of this bigger consciousness. Let's stick to the words we are most used to. Let's start. Today, I also want to pay special attention. Just don't make it generic and abstract, but make it to the point, make it closer to the burning issues, to how I feel these days. And I believe most of you most likely feel in similar ways, because the world is changing very fast and we are changing too. Our consciousness is changing. We kind of, I should say, we are forced to awaken. There is one call after another. It's our second program. Now that, yes, I'm moderating online events for the Institute for the Awakened Mind. And we started it, Judith, believe me or not, I calculated it yesterday, 7 years ago. So I had this idea that it's time to go online and make sure we can see each other, meet with each other, share, exchange ideas. And it has been happening for about 7 years, because the first one we had in November 2015. So long time. And yes, I am certified mind mirror practitioner and trainer. I am also, I don't even want to read all the labels, but I want to say that I'm first of all human, and I'm human in search of its own roots, in search of its own origin, and in search of actualizing the maximum of what human can be. I know it may sound pathetic, but really my drive for personal growth and for digging knowledge on consciousness transformation is very, very strong. And Mind Mirror is a beautiful tool that I found that helps you to really broaden your perspective. Go beyond what you know, go beyond your analytical conscious mind, go far into the depth of your subconscious so you can dig for the treasures hidden there. You can rediscover who you truly are, discover your truth. You can heal your traumas, and you can start being more creative and manifest the life the way you want. And you can connect with probably all that is to get any answers that you might ever need about anything, because they're all out there. And yes, awakening is a great thing. I experience it myself, and I wish everyone to go there as well. And that's why we are doing this program today. So like previous program, I said, I'll be creative and eclectic. So get ready. I'll speak maybe strange language. It's not because I'm originally Russian and my thinking is slightly different. And language might be a bit different too. But it's more about just the way I think, and look beyond words. Look beyond words, because words are pointers. Look what I'm trying to say. Look in between. Like when, if you ever attended a creative art workshop where they try to awaken your right hemisphere for creativity, because it can see things in a more whole way, holistic way. They say, look at the play of light. Don't just look at usual lines. That's how I would say, don't look just at words, because they're quite flat and we all may invest different meanings into these words. So I may come from my background and context and you come from yours. Again, we all come from different perspectives, but in the end, try to sense what I'm pointing at. And it's always in between. It's always in these shades of light, play of light, because this in-betweens and shades of light really gives you more realistic representation of what is, what truly is. It gives you the volume, it gives you the dimension, it gives you the depth. So there is a little poem. I know it's a bit difficult maybe, but it's beautiful. The between. Somewhere in the in-between, atoms bouncing yet unseen, not created by you or me, but fused together from the we. In grace they meet, with grace they move, our energies, our hearts, our truth. Tentatively these atoms slide, for there is a pull to hide. Yet magically, I know not how, your I glides to meet my thou. So I invite you to see where I'm coming from. Perspective, if I name the whole topic of today's, it is energy reading and the mind mirror. It's all about perspective. So what do I mean by perspective? The previous program was inspired by COVID. So as we know, physical world follows and functions according to the same laws as non-physical. So let's think logically. The COVID was there testing our health, testing our fears, testing our compliance, interrupting the course of the routine for many of us, forcing to slow down the pace of life, forcing to stay at home, forcing to revise our relationship with others. And I truly believe that was a call for awakening. It was calling for change. It was calling to slow down, have a break, and it was calling to connect more with ourselves, with our truth, with our values, with our fears. What's really important for us? Reevaluate that. And especially, it touched our freedoms of movement, and freedom in general, and relationships. A good question to ask. This call for awakening, did it change anything in us? I think it was extremely powerful to, like anything that kind of throws you out to face your fears, you'll start reevaluating everything, and you'll start throwing out the garbage, and you start slowing down and focusing on what's truly important. And that's what happened for me, and that gave me the courage and the opportunity to do what I truly want. And now I discovered another thing. Ask yourself another question. So quickly in your mind, scan your environment. For many of us, it's the same house we were in or same place we were in 10 years ago. It could be the same town still where we are living. It could be even the same job we are doing. And just compare where you are now with where you were 10 years ago. You may find that lots of things has changed, or maybe it still looks exactly the same. But even if it does look the same, I bet it no longer feels the same. Something has changed. It feels different. And moreover, you probably have noticed the time is speeding up, and it keeps changing, and it is changing quite fast. Even if you may consider that you might be energy blind or insensitive, though I doubt, well, we may not be aware of it, but on subconscious level, we all are quite sensitive. We still belong to animal family, and we still have our at least basic instincts. We pick things up. We just may suppress them and not trust them. But most of you, I think, will agree with me that the present situation, it feels very unstable, energetically unstable. And here I want to apologize that I'm in and out with webinars, because that's how I feel. I feel being a sensitive person and being connected with how it's happening around me, being alive. I feel these ups and downs. I feel being shaken. And I feel also that COVID was just the beginning, kind of a first really call, and the second call is coming, and it's more like strap the belt. We are getting high into the sky, and there will be quite a few turbulence zones on the way, and God knows where we will end up. So it feels like, yeah, we are prepared for being shaken. I have quite a few friends already being shaken quite a lot. So this is, again, a big call for awakening and a big call for perspective. I want to refresh and remind you of this slide with a few modifications. It's high time to change the perspective, to broaden up our outlook of how we see this world, how we perceive this world, how we interact with it. Obviously, how we see and perceive will affect how we interact. And it's important to become energy literate. So outdated perspective, the old one, the usual one, is more like a photograph. It's flat. It's flat, and that means it's linear, and it's kind of materialistic, very much attached to form. And I should say, I had a conversation recently, and I asked one woman, "What's creativity for you?" And she started naming, oh, it's playing the piano, it's drawing, it's designing something. And she's absolutely right. But I asked her, can you look deeper into what's behind creativity? Maybe you could, it's on the level of mind. How would you say it? You have to be, kind of, your mind should be quite flexible. Your mind should be able to bend things and try unusual combinations, even maybe going a little bit crazy just to create something new. So flexibility, that comes to me, would be one of the keywords on the level of mind. And then she kind of, wow, I never thought that I could think of creativity on that level. Beyond, I said, just look beyond form, look on the energy level. How would it feel like being there? What's behind creativity? And I came up with another word saying, maybe it's something that helps you to adapt to everyday life. It's constantly changing, it's constantly responding, adjusting. Yeah, trying unusual, exploring. So there are lots of words you may come up with if you want really tune in, and it's one of the key words if you want to develop this vision on the energy level. Tune in. Sensing would be another word. So outdated perspective is really very much attached to form. But as we know, what we see with our eyes, it's just a dance of small particles, atoms dancing in huge spaces, going deeper and deeper. You'll see it's mainly just vacuum and a few particles, and their intensive dancing creates the illusion of this material world. Outdated perspective. We feel separate because material forms, my body is separate from yours. It's illusionary, as I just mentioned, and very often we are lost in time and space because energetically it's constantly moving, and in form we like things to be stable. We like put everything in a box, and even we try to subconsciously kind of stuff even people and how we see them in a box. And we want our mom, we always see her the way we remember her, and we see our partners the same way we met them, we made our idea about them. And then if they start changing and go out of the box, sometimes kind of we have problems. What else? We often have fragmented identity because we not truly know who we are. We not always can connect with our truth and what we want. We often wear fake masks. We just buy into something that we think is welcomed, we think is valued, we think is desirable. Or we just take default settings, so to say, from our ancestry, from our parents and teachers and society. We just inhale it without even thinking and any discernment. So lack of meaning and purpose is also quite common, because when you feel disconnected, everything loses sense, because it's all relative. It's all through relation to each other. If you take yourself out of meaningful relationship in your life, probably, I don't know how much meaning you would have if you're not connected with other people through work, through family, through friends, through, I don't know, like how can you be? We can't be isolated. Dualistic, ego-driven, fearful. Yes, that's true. We're constantly drawn apart between what's good, what's bad. We really are drawn to things. Oh, that's comforting, that's pleasant, and we run away from something that makes us feel uncomfortable. So we have lots of fear. Again, when you're separate, how can you trust the other person? So you may need to protect yourself. You may need to control things to feel safe. And that brings, lots of prejudice, can make us defensive, and then pushing as well. Our mind and even society, I think it's changing now, but so much focused on achievement and results. And I wouldn't call it masculine, really. Typically, achievement is associated with masculine, but pushing, and that's how my mom was brought up, for example. She would say, I must, I have to. And this sense of obligation would kill any life in you. And I always rebelled against this because I felt, no, it's utterly wrong. I disagree with you. So how would we feel with the new energy perspective? Again, piece of photograph is a disconnected fragment and doesn't mean much. Energy perspective is more like when you're a piece of hologram, when you're a little fractal. And as a fractal, you will contain information about the whole. You'll literally have all the templates and the knowledge within you still about the whole. So it's non-linear, it's multidimensional, and for our minds who wants to see black and white and very clear squares and boxes, it's quite hard to embrace it. So that's why we need to use more than our just linear logical mind. It's more like somatic and sensitive, sensual, if you like. It's quantum, so where you see beyond form, where you start looking at the wave of energy. When you feel more connected and aligned with the higher order, and by higher order, I mean, you can look cosmic order, universal order, you can look at natural laws, for example. All of this will belong to higher order. And there is higher order, even if we don't know much or everything about it. Clearly, to make things work, and complexity requires certain order, organization behind it to make it work. So it means context of time and space is in place when we're aligned with high order. Our sense of identity is individuation, meaning and purpose. It's much, how to say, facilitated, or becomes easier to gain when you feel connected, when you know your place, where your little puzzle belongs into a big puzzle of this world. And of course, you, through belonging and through feeling that you do have an impact, that you are connected. So if you are connected, it means you can have some influence on what's going on, not just for you, for everyone, for the world. You can influence, you have a power to influence. It's very empowering. And then it's also non-dual and heart-driven. So where you are able to kind of go above just black and white, because black and white, as a child, we want to see things in simplified way, in maximalistic way, and that's typical for youth and teenage. But then as we grow, we start realizing, oh, there are much more colors to it, and it's never just black and white, it's much more complicated. It's black and white and all colors in between, and spots and shades, and and that's really more realistic view of life. And again, it's more open, loving, creative, allowing, and in a flow, because you're not right from the limited, even just limited physical energy of your body, limited knowledge of your conscious mind, but you connect with this bigger field of energy and knowledge out there, and you learn to read it first and then navigate it. And that's when when I'm talking about the flow, and things come with ease. It's more like being than doing, and things like more like happening than you are pushing them to happen, burning yourself out. So that's the idea, and I'll clarify a bit more with this reminder of this beautiful philosophy of the faceted glass. Just remember that most of the time, our perception, the way we look at the world, is limited, it's filtered, and it's prejudiced. So most of the time, we would, looking at this glass, if it was standing straight in front of us, we would see just a few facets, and we wouldn't see what's behind it. It's like there is other side of the moon. So if you look at something negative, clearly there is a positive side on it as well. And if you look at something positive, there could be a negative side behind this as well. And a good thing to remember is that it's really balanced. There are both. And ability to stretch your mind and see both sides of the coin, or all facets of the glass. And more often, remembering that when we put things into words, the world that, like the energy world, the spiritual world, the ideal world stops being so ideal, because we're already trying to push it in a box, and we distort it slightly. So really, the truth would be behind of all these facets, somewhere in between, somewhere in the middle. And that's why there will be so many words, like in I don't know, in Buddhism, in sacred geometry, we'll be talking about golden mean, middle path. We even be talking about the heart. And by the way, heart in my native language, in Russian, will be can be translated as the core. So again, it's about the middle. And remembering that just people may have different opinions. We all are entitled to have different opinions, because we may be looking at the same thing from different angle. And when we combine all our outlooks, all our viewpoints, we are more likely to get to the core of it, to get to the truth. So really, our preconceptions, they separate us from each other, and again, limited perspective. So I'm inviting you to see around 360 degrees, above, below, and in the middle. And if you are facing the problem, play it like a child. Try to look at as many angles as possible, and not just look, sense it, touch it, smell it, feel it. And that's what we'll be doing today. Second part, energy. What do I mean by it? I mentioned already, but I'll continue clarifying. I borrowed this slide from my beautiful presentation and program about 12 amazing facts on EEG, human brain, and neurotherapy. And everybody knows Tesla. I just decided it would be good to put his quote here. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So again, we are invited to look beyond the form, to look at what comes first at this profound primordial level. So energy lies behind everything. I put equal sign between energy, spirit, consciousness, and light, because on many levels, even if I'm not accurate precisely, I'm right. So it weaves material world guided by higher order of creation, and the illustration of that is this beautiful flower of life matrix, symbol of creation matrix. And again, on this symbol, as you can see, we all are creating these ripples in the shared common universal field. And obviously we can't separate ourselves from each other. We can't separate ourselves from the world. Even if we hide our body in our home and isolate, we are still rippling. Our thoughts are still rippling. The world is no longer about separate forms. It's about energy, and we are more interconnected. And again, it's not just chaotic, it's organized. Sacred geometry, shapes or patterns, they remind us that they're basic building blocks. Even chemical elements that we know, the molecules are based around these shapes, and then the combinations, permutations of this shape. And if you imagine this shape as an energy traveling, drawing this shape in space, it will mean the time it kind of weaves the shape or does the cycle will cause or create a certain frequency, emanate a certain frequency. So yes, it is about underlying frequency and how it is manifested in different ways. And patterns, non-physical follows the same patterns as physical. And my learning was that, again, if we look at someone, there is everybody of us, we all have this underlying dynamics or patterns that will dictate how we interact with ourselves, how we interact with others, and will affect, I don't know, our family life, our working relationship, how successful or not we are, our failures. We all have these patterns, and if you train yourself, that's something, that's a skill that can be developed. And subconsciously, again, we may not be aware, but we clearly pick up if somebody is upset, or at least we pick up the moods, we pick up the frequencies, and with some training we can pick up the patterns, and some therapists are really good at it. These patterns are never ending. So as I said, on a deep level, physical level, how you behave and what's energetically going on inside of you, that will be connected, that will be actually the same. And they're self-similar across different scales, what's above, so below. And I use this for, say, let's give you an example. You are running out of energy and you think, okay, energy is something abstract, something intangible. How can I hold it? How I can just get hold of the situation and deal with it? Think of a car that runs out of fuel. So what's your fuel? What makes you run? Where can you go to fill yourself up, and how you can organize it in a way that is working for you, so you don't run out, you're not depleted, and you can function for a long time and quite successfully, sustainably. So that's the essence of, for me, the essence of energy management. And the biggest mistake is that for most of my life, you know, when you're young, you're not looking at it. When you slow down after your 40s, you start thinking, oh, I start really do some energy management. Or when you have children, or when you start a business, when your energy resources are challenged, you'll be like, oh, I need actually to be more conscious and mindful, and I can't afford wasting energy anymore because of life demands. And that's where I am, and that's why I'm fascinated with this topic. Let's refresh, and I'll be saying different things, same slides, but different things that I want to emphasize. So life, I see it as a creative source energy flow at work. So it's just some energy running through us, like electricity running in the cable. And this illustration of Alex Gray is a beautiful illustration to help you see it kind of metaphorically and realistically through meridians. It does look about right. So we are channels and transducers, receivers and transmitters of this energy. And the more you allow to be transmitted, to transmit in both volume and frequency range through you, the more alive you are. So it means the volume of how much we can handle, and energetically, like the consequences, the examples would be, including myself, some people say, oh, I want lots of money, but then you realize it comes with responsibility and ability to transmit equal amount of energy through you. Is your energy system ready for that? And in most cases, no, we need to step up and kind of go to the energy gym and build up our muscles a bit so we can handle that volume. So it's okay if that's what we want to do, or we just stay on the level where we feel comfortable, and that's just right for us, without stretching, without creating extra pressure. And it's not just the volume, it's also the frequency range of low and high, because we tend to say, oh, I just want to stay high all the time, but really the spectrum of life includes negatives and positives, so it kind of, the scale goes both ways at the same time. And when we suppress negatives, we at the same time suppress the positives. And that's where most of us, if we end up in depression, very often it's something like this. We suppressed just too much, so we can't even feel life anymore, can't feel positives. So love would be like a magnetic force emanated by the electrical life flow that attracts, binds, connects everything, creates new worlds of life. And it's absolutely inseparable effect from the flow of life. I mean, you can not separate them, and you can even see them as one. Love or life and the flow of it, that's what makes things happen. That's what charges, energizes everything. Love and life, yeah, they come literally together in our hearts. Our life ends with the last beat of our heart. And heart is the most powerful energy center. So I thought it's more like umbilical cord connecting us to the universe. Of course, through love, through the heart, we connect. You live when you love, and if you think right now of somebody you truly love, you will understand that most likely you will feel energy coming in, that fuel, life fuel coming in, and that will be very empowering feeling. Truth is another word. Sounds like abstract. For me, it's more like awareness or ability to see this direction of the energy flow of life from bigger perspective, and our alignment or cooperation within the higher order of things. It's I just mentioned puzzle, where we as a little puzzle find our right spot in the bigger puzzle of the world, but its puzzle is alive. It's not flat. It's dimensional, and it's constantly exchanging energy with all other puzzles, all other ripples and bubbles, circles, if you like. And when we are aligned and exchanging energy, what is true for us will be a bigger truth too, will be right for the universe, will be aligned with the universal truth. And here, once again, I want to mention that I'm amazed with the hidden knowledge just in the language, how language and consciousness work together, and how you can read through the language. So Russian is great in this respect. So the word truth, pravda, has the same root with the word legal right as a noun, so prava. Then it will has the same root with the word correct as an adverb, правильно. It will have the same root with the word rule as a noun, and to rule as a verb, and then even the government also will have this root in it. So if we follow the logic, it would say, what's truth for you? You have the right for your truth. It is correct. It's the higher order, or a reflection or indication of the higher order. And even the word government, правительство, it has prav, but I'm not sure how much we are currently there. But initially, I guess, the word to rule comes and supposed to be you're ruling from your truth. So if you see that all these words, they come from the same origin, from the same source, yeah, it does make some logic. Fear. Fear is clearly the energy block. It's like a break, and it results from lack of connection, a side effect of being disconnected and not cooperating with the flow of life and your truth, because fear will be the opposite. So when you step into your truth, which is hard to find, because we all have lots of blocks and fears, and it's when you go through the fear and find truth, you'll become brave. It gives you courage. Your truth makes you courageous. So we are fearful because we are separated and narrow-minded and short-sighted. Most of all, we fear uncertainty, and that is especially important because when everything is changing and you don't know what to expect, it's hard for us to face it. Because again, like children, we want to hold on to something we already know. We kind of go through life ticking the boxes. Oh, I need a home. Okay, I have a home to live. I need a partner. Okay, I got a partner. If this is something you need, I need a job. You found a job. How to get money? Okay, tick the box, and then you want to keep it like in a box. It's ticked. It's kind of out of the way, it's done, it's on the list, and then suddenly you are challenged to start all over again or completely change the mix. So it all comes of lack of knowledge, faith and trust, and fear of uncertainty is one of the biggest fears. And then another biggest fear is fear of an end, because if you look at life, it's something that just wants this flow, that wants to keep going. It's eternal, it's perpetual, and then suddenly something is going to block it or stop it forever, disrupt it, disconnect it, cut it. That's where we feel completely like shocked. The end, be it death or whatever, we see as cutting the flow of life and love. Again, it comes from separation. If we were not so much attached to our limited perspective of just physical body, and those who belong to this or that religion or spiritual tradition, it helps them to see yourself beyond this body as eternal being, or at least on some level have glimpses that there is some life possible beyond that point. That also helps to overcome that fear. Again, you can see that perspectives comes into place. Stress. Stress is, again, something when you get away from your truth. It's usually acting from small delusional self. So we are preoccupied with our safety, security, survival in material world, and that's understandable. We are biological bodies, but at the same time, on the mental level, we are preoccupied of how we look like, and we are judging. We are afraid to be judged. And again, too much attachment to physical, lack of perspective, low frequency scale vibration, all again comes from this illusion of separation. And anxiety, it's more like a looped energy, trapped energy, which is looping in this low vibration, which otherwise was meant for action. And truly, again, seeing anxiety as this looping life energy, how do you let go? How can you release it? Even if you don't know how to release it mentally, because here, on the mental level, again, it's so intangible, it's abstract. How do we deal with it? Just think of, okay, any movement would do. Your integral system, physical and non-physical. So go and move, do something, literally. Even if it's just about one thing that you don't know how to deal with, go and do some other thing, go do sports. That's why sports, they're great. Just on the level of physiology, they'll shake it off you and they'll kind of start pushing the blocks. Just keep moving. Don't drain yourself, but move in any form you can. Just move. And a good advice is even like move the finger. If you're paralyzed, move your eyes. Just find something that you can still move and move it. Keep the flow. Keep the flow. Depression. Too many blocks. And I just said before, when we suppress bad things, because we are not prepared, we don't have enough resources, simply. We don't have enough this receptive capacity to receive these parts, this spectrum of frequencies of life through us. We most likely betray our truth because we are entangled, lost into expectations and false, fake goals imposed by society, culture, whatever. But our valve, this valve of life, it shrinks because you can see it as a valve, and we feel depleted. We feel depleted if we can hardly sense anything positive. We can hardly find anything positive. And good news is that, you know, depression comes hand in hand with what I put here, crisis. Crisis is a turning point, forcing you to restore, remove blocks, and redirect your energy flow and become aligned with the life flow, with your truth. So a turning point, time to change the direction. And I guess that's where the biggest crisis for most of people will be, I don't know, probably middle-age crisis, or somewhere where something drastic happens where you understand that your life will never be the same. You lose the close ones, or it's just the hardest part where you have to go through this loss and change and adaptation to the new life. Here, I want to say that, you know, depression and crisis come hand in hand. Depression is grieving for that life that will never be again, will never be the same. And it just doesn't mean you have to kind of finish this life. It's not about this, it's finish the life as you know it. That's the end of the life as you know it, but it doesn't mean there is no other. The other, usually when, you know, the fruit is dying, it is feeding and giving birth to the seed inside of it. So at the same time, when something is dying and you're grieving about, something new is being born out of it. And here, if, again, I'll talk about it later, attention plays, to me, it plays critical role, because if you master of your attention, if you're mindful, you kind of can grab your attention out of the negative side and then stretch it and take it to another side and see, oh, there is some new life, which may not even, like women will know, you know, in early stages of pregnancy, you don't even know whether this life will come out, whether it will be all right, whether you'll be able to give birth and it will continue. But it's so vulnerable, it's so unpredictable, it's just, but it has a huge potential in it. You know, something very precious is being born inside of you. So that's a way to look at it. Again, crisis, you can imagine it metaphorically as see yourself as a fast and steady running train, which is running its rails, unable to see that it is time to stop looking just straight and forward. Often it feels like you're approaching the dead end or wall, but start looking left and right, or even 180 degrees back to change the rails. So your train of life has to step on other rails and kind of start a new journey, make it different. Pain, symptom or disease, again, it's a block or constriction with trapped life energy seeking release. Usually it's just trying to help us open the perspective. So many therapies and teachings will talk that symptom is not there without a reason. There is a reason. If you can't see it, it doesn't mean there is no reason. There is logic, and there is cause and effect. And usually what's manifested physically has also its echoes, or even, it's not the echo, I should say, physical is the ending, the last stage of manifestation. And usually the dynamics, the pattern, the energy pattern was disrupted somewhere earlier on subtle levels where something went wrong. And it's just trying to knock and break through our consciousness, saying, hey, look, here is a problem, here is an issue, seeking your attention, seeking resolution, please. And finally, when we are stuck in pain or symptom, we realize, oh yes, it's something trying to tell us, something trying to communicate. The more we try to resist, and that's common, again, Western world, it's just all about suppression. We ignore, we run away, the worse we feel usually. And then if you ever come across working with pain, John Kabat-Zinn is a great example where he set the whole school of body scanning, where you can sense and go into your pain and kind of sending your attention there actually dissolves it. And even if you can't fix, physical problems, your life becomes better, the quality of life becomes better. And some people even go off painkillers through being able to deal with their pain on a new level, approach it on a new level. So fighting, again, suppressing is not a good idea, but again, it's very often our natural response, fight it, against it. It's some discomfort. I want to hide from it, or I want to fight it. But fighting with it, it's like fighting with a strong natural force, like a storm or a wave, and eventually it may kill you. It's no point in fighting. Fighting doesn't work, actually. It's more like a childish or teenage reaction. It never works. Relaxing, letting go, holding high perspective, being open and trusting, greeting, seeing the process behind usually brings a relief. And then here I again borrowed this slide from 12 Amazing Facts program. I loved what I discovered as the essence of health, because looking at neurophysiology, I learned that too much of a certain frequency and connectivity or too little represent the signs of disorder. It should be just right for the task at hand. And then I just already mentioned that this word balance is common in shamanism. Disease is a sign of a disbalance. And what shamans do, they bring this balance back. Buddhism teaches you about middle path, sacred geometry, golden mean ratio. Like any energy system, our brain, and again, our brain just picks and registers what happens in the field. So we can, on the energy level, we can spread it to bigger health as well. The brain wants to use maximum of its capacity in the most optimal way, which implies we want to use both left and right hemisphere. We want bigger outlook and higher perspective. We want the best of both worlds. Different parts of the brain should be well connected and communicated freely, but not, again, too much to create over dependence on each other and over communication, because it will eat up too much resources. And again, to make you understand it, think of example when people in a group or family are over dependent, and it just cuts off their freedom. So separately they could do and be more kind of fruitful and realize more themselves, who they are, and achieve more results. But when they rely too much on each other, that locks them, and it dulls them individually, makes them weaker individually. So like kind of each to its own, low activation of certain parts, over activation in and between parts, simply stuck energy and lack of flexibility, bad brain habits would represent a disbalance or disease. And here I want to mention that, so keywords again for the health would be, I didn't create separate slide, but balance, flexibility, and there should be nothing stuck. And interestingly, in English language, you say mental health. But again, mental to me, it's more just the realm of, it's feels, and it may be wrong feeling because I can't sense properly. It's your native cognitive field, but in Russian, it's more soul health. So to me, soul opens completely different perspective than just mental. Because we are more than mental beings. We are more than thinking beings. We are the ones that energetically connect with each other, with the spirit and with the higher purpose. So that takes it to me to completely different level. Again, different perspective. That's why I guess it wouldn't be surprising the next slide why I see the things the way I see. So being aware, spiritual to me means being aware and connected to the energy and network and web of life. So being able to see energy behind and the interconnectedness of all life. Not only seeing like good and desirable, but what we normally consider bad or negative. So being able to connect with life to its full spectrum beyond duality from the highest perspective. So it's not just the volume, it's the spectrum. So you see that in many Eastern traditions, it's all about energy. And when we label this energy as negative, we kind of cut this energy out of our lives and it makes us poorer. We are less rich. Otherwise, if we are able to embrace it, we can become richer, we can become much more powerful, and it's still there to serve a purpose. So it's definitely worth to be included, and it's a mental, it requires some mental training and this balancing to bring the opposites, to train yourself to see beyond duality. And I also say that it's like when you want to lift yourself, you grab left hand, right hand, and that's much easier, so you can push yourself up. How can you push yourself up with one hand? It's quite hard. So really, our growth happens through connection of the opposites and going beyond. Even like life is contingent, male and female should come together. Again, physical level will duplicate or replicate the principles behind in the same way. So the opposites should come together to create something new. Left and right hemisphere should work together to bring us this bigger, deeper, wider perspective. And again, that's what we know from the mind mirror perspective, from the mind mirror theory and work. When we are able to read the maps of energy, and thus we will become able to eventually do energy work, by which I mean you see from a very high perspective. You are able to heal, starting with yourself first, of course, and then probably others, and then transform and manifest all these key directions, so to say, of energy work. And then think of joy. Joy is something when you experience a very high level of connection with life energy, when it overflows and gives you splashes. So it means you most likely are living your truth, are riding energy wave, which is a least energy consuming motion, more of a being and happening, as I said before, more less like doing and pushing. And here is the scale, consciousness level scale. It's not from the mind mirror, it's from David Hawkins, but I like the note. A person may operate on one level in any given area of life. An individual's overall level of consciousness is the sum total effect of all levels. So that's what I'm trying to say again. It's the spectrum that you embrace. You have to just, one doesn't cancel another. You navigate the whole spectrum. And that's what makes you more conscious. Then creation is, or creativity, because I promised to mention this word in description of this program. So it's our natural quality of expression of life energy flow, which with love wants to bind things together, magnify, try more and more iterations and experiences, thus growing its own perspective. And creativity, I want to stop here and mention that in times of crisis, in times of change, in times of when you realize that it's a turning point and I don't even know who I am, or I feel like I can't stick to my past old labels, creativity comes in place. So growing perspective, building your awareness, becoming more spiritual at the same time, because the mechanism behind it is the same, requires or implies that you become more creative. You just have to adapt to life, adapt to change. And just by repetition wouldn't save you, because again, it flows like river flows, and you can never enter the same water. The same water is gone. So you constantly have to match the current moment and be creative in the moment, and be courageous in the moment to try. So good way here is to be a child and play. Don't get too serious. Just keep touch with your childish aspect, creative aspect, because that will bring you ease to deal with life. And that's how, going back, really, it's like to some extent like regression, because When children learn to adapt to our adult life, they learn through play. So if we don't know how to deal with life, okay, let's go back and start playing again. We'll just start playing. We'll make mistakes, we'll fall down, and then with a smile, we'll get up and keep playing. See it as adventure. And of course, when you are creative, you're more likely to co-create with the life flow. And that's what manifestation is for me. It works best when you're spiritual, integrated in the energy network, and aligned with your truth. The next one, perception. Perception is, those who are non-psychologists, it's usually something like a mystery, but the closest word I could say is filter. So our consciousness, it is like a valve, as a filter that filters all the energy that's coming through us. We filter it. How do we filter it? The key ones will be values, beliefs, and they'll define our attitudes. So perception filters, they're like lenses that limit, color our perception, split the life energy wave, defines our underlying dominant and resonant vibrational frequencies, and what we receive and what we send vibrate back. So values, they're more like foundational pillars of our psyche. What will be important and dominant, what we will be gravitating towards and invest our life energy. Really, in other words, you can say, Vedas especially will say it like this: where you invest your life energy, that is your God, that's what you serve, that's what you pray. And it can be some high consciousness, it can be money, it can be anything. But again, coming back to the reality of the world around us, it's good to be reminded, again, thanks to Vedas, to remind us that all material values, they are temporary, they will pass. Because even the rock at some stage, after thousands, millions of years, may turn into sand and there'll be nothing there, or there'll be ocean over it. So everything material will degenerate, and it's important to stick to something which is most likely intangible, eternal, non-material, because that will not change. That is ideal. Revisiting these other higher values will help you to sustain health, all of us, just to stay healthy. And remember that we are visitors. It's just we put on this biological body as part of our soul journey on earth, and it will pass as well. It's hard, but it's a process. But again, how we look at it will define our attitudes. We may believe that our life is an adventure, life is a great learning, life is amazing, experience, and you look at it like that. And then when you face challenges, you're more excited, you're more like a child dealing with them, rather than, no, my perception is limited, and like most of us, I'm just seeking comfort. I just want this. It's very, I even don't want to mention this, because I truly believe most of people are beyond that point, especially those who come to listen to this presentation. So beliefs, they are more like doors which open or close to what is possible to us. So I believe this is like that. I believe this is possible. And you run this corridor and you'll filter, and our mind was working in a way that it will find the proof of what you believe in. You believe in this, and especially now in terms of internet, you'll find, oh, I believe in this, and you'll find millions of arguments. You believe in the opposite, and you'll find millions of arguments for that. But it's your filter that will stick and notice this or that, because that's what you believe in. And then attitudes, again, they are smaller, like angles or facets that define your anticipation and response to life events. You see something as positive or negative, just because you believe this is good or bad, or that's how it should be, it's supposed to be. Coming to the freedom, which is a complex word, and again, COVID stirred lots of discussions on what freedom is, because most of us, we were forced to stay isolated in home or within a certain limit from our home. Physical freedoms, they are the last freedoms, like in manifestation. Physical is the last level. But sticking and staying with the movement of flow of life, looking at the process and living from the energy perspective, it will give you more freedom, because most of limitations and borders and obstacles, they sit in our perception filters, they sit in our minds, and there is actually more possible than we may think of. It just default settings that we have, this default filter, they don't allow us to look further than that. Yeah. So any form imposition, any type of form, label, judgment, diagnosis is limiting or trying to lock in a box the flow of life, which is impossible to lock. Any material manifestation automatically implied freedom limitation, switching off other degrees of freedom. Focused on the energy flow, you gain flexibility and thus freedom of choice how to respond. So you kind of change your attitudes. That's something which is in your hands. And by changing your attitudes, you can restore the healthy flow through you. So that's, if it's complex, you may ask questions later. But now I want to finish and start doing exercises. Attention, it's something like a magic wand vector directing the flow of your life energy, pointing to what you'd like to create and amplify. That is what I believe even Awaken Mind training is doing as well. It's training us to master where we place our attention. And so we can, if this is kind of a lever, we are able to zoom in if we need to have a closer look. We are able to zoom out if we need bigger perspective, and if we need to distance from something, withdrawing ourselves from which is not working into something which is working, and lifting ourselves above the duality. That's exactly what we are also trying to do. Peak performance training is trying to do. In the end, managing your attention implies managing your precious life energy. It's life energy management. And here comes attention exercise. Are you following me? I just want to have a quick check. If you can unmute and say a few words, if you are following me, if you are tired, we'll start playing.
Okay, here.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, ready to
Good.
go. Let's go then. Attention exercise. Attention exercise is like, you probably know already, just focus on your hands and start sending your attention, thinking of your hands, palms of your hands, and sit with it. And most likely you will start feeling that your hands will be getting warmer, just because you send your attention there, you send your energy there. It brings more life into your hands. This is quite common, so like part of this typical autogenic exercises that we do. But I want to invite you to do another more interesting attention exercise. It's extremely short, it's micro exercise. So I'm inviting you to close your eyes and take a deep breath. And the exercise will be to define how many levels of your consciousness are available to you, or how you can feel yourself as an energy being, just bigger than the physical body. So take another breath, a big breath, and then while inhaling, feel with your attention, connect, reclaim your physical body. Emotional body, just beyond that, blowing it like a bubble. Take another breath if you need. And then mental body and spiritual body. I'll repeat it once again. Take another breath and exhale into your feeling the whole lot. This is my physical body, emotional body, mental body, and spiritual body. And you can open your eyes. And I don't know how about you, but I always feel expanded. And when I feel small and stuck, this simple exercise. It's in the beginning of my favorite meditation. It kind of brings me back to myself. It literally makes me feel expanded, and thus makes me feel bigger, makes me feel more present, and makes me feel kind of more significant, not in an egoistic way, but just kind of, I'm there, I'm present. I become like more influential. I know it may not work maybe even from the first time, but again, it's a beautiful one to remind yourself, I'm more than just this physical body. Okay, let's continue then. This is perception exercise, and that will show not just the filters, or most likely it will point at our limitations of our filters of perception. So when we talk about different perspectives, here I'll be talking about relationship. So usually we look at the world with the I perspective, just I, me, how I see as an individual unit. It's kind of energy outgoing from like out of me, from my eyes, my outlook. That's let's say this is the first level, or the first perspective. And then the second perspective, here I'm inviting you again with your attention, just kind of mentally in your imagination, draw the picture. This is me. This is how I'm looking out into the world. And then the second level, you perspective. So there is another person, and you place yourself into his, her shoes. And are you able at the same time to stretch your attention and perception so you can see yourself, remember about yourself, be aware of yourself, and try to see the other person, where he, she is coming from. And ideally, if you're really big master, you will not just see the person or his word that, like for example, I'm talking now, but I'm saying words, or you can see somebody acting certain way, certain event, behavior, action, and that's what you attach your attention to. But can you see, go a little bit beyond and draw a little bubble around yourself and around other person, and that bubble will be the whole history of life of that person, and maybe even his or her ancestors that made him or her behave certain way. So it's kind of all this luggage that we carry in our field, right? And it's all this combination bubble of frequencies that we carry with us, so that make us behave this or that way, or say this or that way, or think and see world this or that way. So you not only just see you see the other person, you try to understand and sense what's behind, what's the prehistory, what's in the bubble of you that make you see the way it is. Then you try to see the other person and the same story with this bubble and prehistory, what's behind. And then the third level would be that we normally never look at it, again, because we are very much left hemispheric, and we look at lines and words, but we never look in between. But then if you think of your relationship, for example, with a partner, somebody who is important to you, and you try to look in on the energy level, what's in between? What's in between us? How is life going? What's the flow? How it feels like from you to the other person, from the other person towards you, and what's in the mix? What's in this cocktail of energy flow? It's like a road, like a, I don't know, phone cable. What's there? Try to hold this, just not just seeing usual you, another, what's in between. And then you raise above, and that will be the fourth level, the fourth perspective, where you see it from what I call the top of the mountain, from meta perspective. See it completely from bigger picture, where you can link all of these three things, and even more than three, because I already invited you to look at the prehistory. So look at all of this from above and understand, oh, now I can understand what's going on. So I understand that's a tricky exercise, and I'm only learning. I'm not a magician, I'm only learning. But I thought that's a beautiful exercise just to help us get out of this narrow-mindedness, and raise our perspective to another level, because most of the problems we have in any relationship is about our narrow filters that don't allow us to see beyond our nose, and we're so preoccupied with prejudice and fears, so we just look at the world through this prism of our projection. So we project into the world what we can't accept within us. So we are unbalanced, and we try to balance ourselves by projecting stuff outside. Maybe it's not clear yet, but I'll get to that point. So I want to continue because I think it's an exciting program. So mind mirror, I think most of you are aware what mind mirror is. And again, we are talking about EEG here, electroencephalogram. And did you know, just a reminder, that the person who created EEG, and actually he said, it is possible that I might fulfill the plan I have cherished for over 20 years and even still to create a kind of brain mirror, the electroencephalogram, because he was German. So EEG, he already called brain mirror. And he started his search for EEG from hypothesis, because he wanted to find energy for the solution of my brain-mind problem. So he had telepathy experience. It was a case of spontaneous telepathy in which, at a time of mortal danger, as I contemplated certain death, I transmitted my thoughts while my sister, who was particularly close to me, acted as the receiver. Hans Berger. So for those of you who don't know, this is the person who discovered alpha and beta brainwaves. And this is the person who basically is the father of EEG. And I thought it's good to remember that, oh yeah, it also started with energy for him, energy search behind the mind-brain. And what do we read with the EEG? We read the frequencies emanated by our brain neurons as they work, from very slow to very high, slow delta, theta, alpha, beta, gamma, gamma the fastest on top. We see them in classical clinical EEG as waves. With the mind mirror, we see them in bands. But here again, we talk about energy flow and its frequency. And I believe brain represents a registering instrument for the whole body energy field. And that's what we register. We register the shifts in the field. And here you can see the bands as we see them with the mind mirror. I just quickly say that we look first, mind mirror is brilliant because we can read immediately what's going on in different frequency categories. And we associate different frequency categories with different levels of mind, which allow us to draw a certain map of how we can navigate consciousness. So beta and even gamma on top, I didn't put it here, but it's the time I think to include. So it's conscious mind, that's what we know. And I'll clarify a bit more on the next slides. What we know, that's our thinking mind, logical mind, analytical mind, that's our words and language. Alpha in green is alpha bridge, in between, connecting conscious mind with what we do not know with our subconscious and unconscious minds. And it's like beta sits on tip of the iceberg, but there is so much more beyond the water level, beyond alpha, if you would like to look at it this way. So theta, our subconscious mind, all our programming and including our resources, individual resources, individual stuff, suppressed stuff. And then delta is our unconscious mind, which is very slow and which is in purple down there. So really, we can say, I suppose, the mind mirror allows us to see and measure energy flow we can see brainwaves as lenses which define our perspective. So normally we look at the world with just the beta, with conscious mind, with what we know of. But if we just have beta, and here I draw, again, those who know mind mirror very well, you are acquainted with these patterns. Of course, they work all together, but those which are dominating will define what's going on. It's like a symphony, and who is playing the leading role will define the orchestra. So in ordinary pattern here, you can see that beta is dominating, and there is really bottleneck in alpha theta. So that's what I call outdated perspective. It's a very small lens, just one lens that no longer we can look at the world with, because there is a bottleneck. So you will feel separated from your bigger self. It's just your limited conscious mind. And then what do we do with the training? We try to go into awaken mind, and awaken mind will mean we already open alpha, so there is no longer the bottleneck, and the flow of energy now can happen, and information exchange can happen in between conscious and subconscious mind, and even deeper. And then we keep expanding our brain waves even further to optimize them, so we can clearly see left and right hemisphere working together, and all the bandwidths kind of aligning in a nice circular shape. Optimized in evolved mind pattern, or you can call it unity pattern. That's where we connect with everything. So it's clearly more optimal, more balanced, very healthy, and very quite advanced. And what we train with the awakened mind, we actually literally train to zoom out or slow down, and or go to high perspective, because we add more lenses. We add we have not just beta lens, we add alpha and theta, and all of it together, nicely aligned and working together, all of it. And I picked the phrase, no blockages, no interruptions, no entanglements. We go into full potential. We go to the place where energy can flow freely, being present to all that is in any system, in whatever life may present. This phrase is not from here, but it perfectly explains that we get away through these blockages, interruptions, and entanglements into full potential. So metaphors behind: beta, dominant in ordinary pattern. In here you can see yellow orange, dominant, the loudest. It's a metaphor of ego caught in the material world trap. To create and connect, you let this go beyond your mind, beyond known material. Beta must find its place in the hierarchy or higher order of things, and this is absolutely true. So it's just mind, but mind is more like GPS. If we are driving a car, GPS remembers our previous routes, but it should be the soul, it should be high consciousness, some higher self, some clearly high consciousness with bigger perspective driving, because you can't just follow the same route again and again. And that's what mind knows and does, because that's what makes it feel secure. That's what it knows, the past. Awakened mind pattern. Alpha is a metaphor for gateway to slower frequencies and to higher states. So I came up with thinking about it more and more, that alpha is more like a lever or knob. And if you look at neurophysiology or brainwave origin and function, where I was talking about alpha, it gave me an idea that alpha is more like lever or knob for regulating the flow of our attention and thus perspective. Alpha is the one that is basically a switch, right? That allows you to regulate how much energy flows into in mode when you need to zoom in on something into external world. And that's what beta is. It's our orientation, survival in external world. And then how much you can let energy go into you and your like introspective vision. So you sense yourself at the same time. You don't lose yourself while being present in this world. And then it also gives you access to your hidden resources, to your, inner wisdom and bigger awareness. It opens that door to other slower frequencies. And here I showed it before. When the door is closed, it feels like the end. I'm locked, I'm trapped. As soon as you open alpha, you go beyond. You see, oh, there is the whole world behind it. And then trapped in beta, trapped like in your mind box and chatter and criticism, or you just fly out high and free above it. And that's clearly totally different perspective. Going deeper, slowing down even more into theta. And here I'm just reminding again you that slowing down, that's what I started the presentation with, the COVID. It was about helping us to slow down. It was helping us to awaken. Just look inside and what's going there. Looking inside, we open alpha, we relax a bit, and we go into theta, which can be a metaphor for our heart, not just subconscious. It's our eternal soul, it's our energetic core self or higher self. Evolved mind is a metaphor of oneness or unity, connection to the source. This is when you are in your power, fully present in your highest perspective, when you are connected. So I'm not surprised that this pattern that you see, this circular one, is a common pattern for mediums or those people who naturally, intuitively came to this very balanced pattern, because it implies that their abilities are advanced. They have this extrasensoric perception only because they optimized how their brain is working, naturally optimized to make the best use, to use maximum potential of it can do. And that's how they read. Say, for example, psychic reader would sit in this pattern, being like in connection with all in one, and she would say, there is no more difference. I can enter your field and all information is there. I'm reading it from your cloud. So it's a symbol of connection. And then a beautiful slide, one of my most favorite from the previous program, where I was emphasizing that somewhere in between alpha and theta is that secret line. When information or energy crosses this line, that's when we call crossover happens, but that's when transcendental experience happens. That's when transformation happens. That's when healing happens. That's when what not known becomes known. And though we see patterns at flat, I speculated that it could be more like a toroidal flow, where this alpha theta border, which also sits somewhere around Schumann frequencies of Earth, is where it's kind of this 0 point. Schematically, geometrically, it can be represented by a cube octahedron or vector equilibrium. And Buckminster Fuller said, the vector equilibrium is the 0 point for happenings or non-happenings. It is the empty theater and empty circus and empty universe, ready to accommodate any act and any audience. So I bet this is somewhere where all the points come together, somewhere here in the middle of alpha theta. You reach this 0 point where you are empty, but at the same time, it's the entry to the fullness where you can manifest, the borderline kind of between unmanifested and beginning of manifestation, where you can get what you need. Yeah, it's a metaphor. Alpha theta seems to be a metaphor for this equilibrium where we find the point for happenings and non-happenings. So I'm not surprised it's associated, alpha theta crossover is associated with insights, healing, and transcendence. So again, I just put another picture showing the flow. The flow goes both directions, toroidal flow, upwards and downwards at the same time, again, which is hard for our brain to embrace. But that's what we see again and again with the mind mirror, when we see delta communicating with gamma or beta on top, and how they talk to each other. It's obvious that neighbor bandwidths, they talk to each other and affect each other, but it's more interesting how they those ones that sit on top and bottom communicate as well. I should say that, I'll go back and say that this pattern and alpha theta is something like energetically your energy core or energy center. And when you're balanced, that's when you are balanced, or when you're unbalanced, just imagine that this bubble, this ball will be skewed where you have this disbalance, and that will be the grounds for dependencies and addictions, and basically you wouldn't be sitting in your power because you can't stand firmly on both legs, right? It's, if we again link intangible to physical material world, standing on both legs is much more stable. And then again, even in your body, if you do Qigong or any energy practices, you will know that Dantian, and we did it in our meditation, which proved that when you focus on lower Dantian, which is this energy point behind, slightly below your navel, it's your energy core, and it makes you feel most balanced and most present in your energy body. And again, it was surprising to find the proof of it and reflection of it with the brain waves as seen by the mind mirror. And then delta. Delta is the very bottom, the longest waves, that the slowest, and that means they can cover bigger distances. So we know beta is very local, but delta, it goes across, and it means it opens more doors for connection. It's like AM, FM will be your local radio, AM will allow you to listen to radio stations from other countries. So delta is doorway to universal consciousness and source energy. And it clearly shows that psychics and healers who sit in this channeling pattern where delta is dominant, they do not run it from themselves, from their minds, out of their conscious beta mind. They channel it because they just receive and pass this energy through the field. So this is the door to universal field. And for channelers, I gave a beautiful example where a channeler comes in and out and always leaves this delta door kind of open through delta. And before mediums were going, say, into out-of-body patterns, that's when it collapses into flat lines and their brain activity, apparently the focus shifts elsewhere into the cloud, their consciousness shifts. They're still alive and still thinking and still, experiencing something, but their brain activity shuts down next to zero. They also get out through delta. Delta is the last one to collapse. And here I didn't have it last time, so I decided it's high time to add it. So gamma to me would be it sits on the very top above beta, and we call it superconscious and universal consciousness patterns. It's gamma on top of awakened mind and evolved mind. Gamma will be a sign of optimization or booster of the highest brain function and heightened sensory perception. And when we talk about gamma, we realize that, it allows you to have this heightened sensory perception through optimized communication between all other categories underneath. And that's what happens. It's like upgrading your computer to another processing power. And the one revealing, it is revealed through synchronization and coherence. And you can say most likely it's the integration into the spiritual energy network, because it is associated with high intuition and empathy and extrasensoric perception. So it does optimize your whole energy system. And I believe it's probably related to Kundalini awakening and spiritual crises. And middle age crisis, to me, I believe, is spiritual crisis, which requires you to switch to another level of functioning, to the energy level. So Here, once again, we are looking at these dynamics, and I bet after explaining all of it through metaphors, you'll have clear picture and clear understanding of how it works. So right now, I want to do a quick check of how we are going with time, because I wrote a little brainwaves exercise, and I suggest maybe or I'll just ask your opinion, because I have a few more slides to share, and then maybe seeing how much time is left, we'll do this or that exercise, because this exercise I wrote quick kind of meditation that may help you to sense a little bit more each of the levels of these brain waves. They're more descriptive probably than experiential, but still just integrate it into your system a little bit more. And then in the end, I had a plan for personal transformation, but that would take, I guess, too much time. So maybe we can just share the file with this meditation, personal transformation, and you can do it at home after. If you like, I'll explain what my idea was behind. What do you feel like? Do you want to do a little meditation that I wrote with navigating the brainwaves, or at least trying to connect with them a little bit more and anchor what I presented to you a bit more in your mind?
Yes.
No, we'll do a little exercise, and I don't know how it will go because it's pure experimental. It's the first time I'm taking it out for you to try. So please get ready for the meditation. Take a comfortable position. It won't take long, and don't stretch yourself or push yourself too hard. Just enjoy it. Make best use of your attention and imagination. Just follow the guidance as much as you can. Okay, close your eyes and take a deep breath, and I'll read the guidance. Imagine yourself in the space of your mind. You most likely feel yourself inside your head. You may start feeling more pressure of rigid walls of the skull. You may find more heat being generated in your forehead. It is a closed, limited space where you receive, generate, and register your thoughts. It is mental space. It's usually a very busy space, full of impatience and hurry, and quite often worry as well. It's usually crowded with almost never-ending voice, commentary, or even few voices having conversations, or even attacking each other. This is where we spend most of our time. This space may also feel a bit dryish, flat, and artificial, as if despite of all the heat and thoughts generated, there is not really much life in it. Now take a deep breath and shift your attention to your body. It usually feels softer and more flexible than your mind space. It is always full of sensations. Feel your breath, the air, entering your nostrils, circulating in your lungs, and leaving the body. Watch your breath cycles, expanding and contracting your chest and or belly. Feel real life happening, pulsing right now inside of you. If you feel any stiff or energy stale parts in your body, sweep them all through with a big inhale and long out breath. Feel the surface your body is sitting on. Feel the floor under your feet. Feel how close, real and solid is the contact between your body and this physical world. You may hear some sounds now besides the sound of my voice. Focus on them. It can be a clock. It could be noises from the cars outside or birds singing. If you had a volume knob, choose one sound and make it louder. Then switch your attention to another sound and focus and amplify it. And another. And now try to combine all sounds around you in one play of external environment orchestra. Which one is playing the dominant tune? Or is it a harmonious choir? Now, feel the temperature in the room, the breeze of air, the sunlight if any. Feel the smells in the room. Focus on whatever smell you can pick and also try to amplify it, as if you are turning the volume knob on maximum. And now take a deep breath and drift deeper, deeper into yourself, trying to locate the center, the very core of your being. If you believe in soul, where does it live in your body? Quite often it is in your heart center. Wherever it is, feel the peace, stillness, and at the same time expansion if you decide to explore it. Notice it is likely an unlimited space that can feel and embrace a lot. It may also feel it is an old and wiser space, most likely eternal space of no time. A space of unlimited acceptance and love, where everything is possible and where you can connect with anyone. And now take a deep breath and drift even deeper, as if you were leaving the bay of your heart into a dive to the universal ocean. There are no more shores in sight. It's endless, it's powerful, it's magnificent. This is the place of unknown, unlimited potential, energy, and healing. Feel the power of it and let yourself find an underwater current. And I'm inviting you to have a ride with it. It could be a breathtaking ride, as if you're falling into a deep black hole, but don't be scared. Rather see it as a fun and enjoy the ride, as a child would have going down a sleigh from a snowy hill. Go faster, go deeper, feel higher and higher. But know that you will come out right back into peaceful bay of your heart. Rediscover yourself in the peace and stillness of the bay of your heart. Take a breath after your wonderful journey. And now try to bring alive, combine all these levels of your being together, like you would put together pyramid rings that baby plays with. The space of unlimited opportunities, your delta, the universal ocean. The bay of your heart, which is an entry to this ocean. Your theta. Your body, with all 5 or possibly 6 senses, your alpha. And your mind, beta, with its ability to put everything into words, analyze, conceptualize, make decisions and conclusions, and pack it up for memory storage and help you orientate in everyday earthly life. Can you feel or just imagine the freedom of living your life, being aware, having flexibility to navigate all these levels on demand? Think of some idea or project. It will be a short test run. Think of it, formulate it with your mind. And after you named it, now pass it to your body and get the flavor of it by envisioning, smelling, touching, hearing. Turn it, look at different angles of this idea or thought, and then drop it down to do control live proof test with your heart. Does it feel right? Is it your truth? Does it resonate fully with you? Do you really want it? And then collect energy and other resources from the universal ocean for its manifestation. Or maybe we'll do it completely differently. Just forget about all your ideas. Quieten, empty your mind, switching off your thoughts. Imagine an elevator that is taking you down from your mind, through your neck, into your body, anchoring yourself in now and in reality, into your heart, going deeper into this space of acceptance and love, and sit there. Rest and listen there, on the shore of your bay. See what the universe would like to bring you. What golden fish, or message, or resource that was so much needed, even though this need might have not been even recognized consciously until this moment. And then grab this precious gift and unpack it with your body, using all your senses. Feeling, smelling, touching, maybe even singing, drawing or dancing it in your imagination. And finally, putting it into words in your mind, celebrating receipt of another insight. I want you to remember the sequence, to remember the feeling associated with each of the levels and find a word that you can put on internal road, sign, pointer that will remind you the vibration of that place and could immediately take you there. Think of your conscious mind, your busy mind space of your theta, sharp, active. Your physical sensory body space of alpha. Your warm peace, acceptance of heart space of theta. And the breathtaking power and invisible hand of delta that can bring you anything from the universal ocean. And now take your time and find closure to this meditation. Take another deep breath, stretch and open your eyes and get back to the outside world and our presentation. Good.
That was marvelous, Oksana. I'd love to record that.
Anyway, we don't have much time left, and I want to finish program with few more insights and discoveries. So it's good to know. I'll go back to presentation mode. It's not much left there. So brainwave age dynamics, it's really important. And I have now one more proof why it is important for us to remember and know about this. Not just to understand that, you know, children are born and they need lots of energy to build up their bodies. And that's why they spend most of their time in delta, asleep, in deep sleep. And we know that delta is the dominant in really restorative deep sleep, and that's what's happening when we are recharging our energy deposits, right? Even on the level of physical body, we're recharging the glucose in our brain, you know, for the day in this deep delta sleep. And again, I refer you to neurophysiology and brainwave origin and function to watch about delta if you want to know more. But now, kind of after I dug through all the tons of this information, I can say that, yeah, I understand why children spend that much time in sleep, and I also understand why healing works with delta, through delta, because this is this resource for the frequency of healing and restoration. So anyway, it's not about just to understand why you know, children are in the way we are and how it's working. There is more to it. So after 2 years old, 2 to 6 years old, the dominant brainwaves in children will be theta. And that's why, yes, we say they are like little hearts, you know, if they live in normal family, not overstressed, they are the little sunshines. They are so open to life. They are pure love. And they don't know time. Try to explain to a child that, you know, what's tomorrow, what he lives in now, and he wants to have fun and play now. He is full of creative energy. He is full of exploration, and he reads a lot on subconscious level of what's going on behind, because the truth is open to him or her as well. So theta, don't question it, and like just understand where they're coming from. Theta is also this frequency of our REM sleep, dreaming sleep. So yes, the children are dreaming. They are on the borderline of reality. They are not there fully fully yet with their consciousness, and only in between 6 and 12, so around 7, 8, when children go to school, they arrive to alpha, and that's the dominant frequency for mature, healthy adult brain. And that's when we kind of land and can start creative thinking and develop beta thinking, again 12 plus, so with abstract things and plans and decisions, and that's we can kind of trust already somewhere after 10, depending on development, how children can make, whether they can make good reasonable decisions, like logical decisions. That's where beta comes in. So you can see that we have these frequencies, but really we have to remember, and I remember that I learned it from Ken Wilber's book on integral psychology, where he was saying that as we develop, we don't throw out the levels that we already achieved. It's like computer game. You achieve the level of the child, teenager, adolescent, and then adult, and all these layers, they don't cancel each other. It's just new roles, new outlooks, new perspectives, new experiences. But we still have a core of a child inside. We still need to connect and be able to navigate through all these levels. They are still within us. They don't stop existing. It's like a Russian doll, if you like, or I don't know, I mentioned this pyramid rings that children play with. It's exactly like that. We add more and more levels, layers, lenses of our perception. And of course, one doesn't cancel another. We want to be connected to the universe through our delta, through instincts, to our hearts, through theta, be playful and creative in our body, alpha, and have clear minds to externalize and materialize high wisdom in everyday earthly life, beta. And here I want to mention the promised orders of love by Bert Hellinger. So I came across, on my search of energy reading, quite a few information sources, because I was fascinated by someone who already noticed some order or laws or principles of energy flow, not just sacred geometry, but something else. So Bert was someone who formulated it in a brilliant way. So very much, I think his vision resonates with mine, and he's calling it love. But as I said, love, life, what I mean by the flow cannot be separated, really. We are talking about the same things. So talking about energy, he will say that everyone has an equal right to belong to their family system. Or he was talking about families, but let's just talk about any system. If we talk about our brain system, we clearly can say, oh yes, every single brainwave is important and has a right to be there and fully belong there, right? It cannot be excluded. Everything should be embraced. Second, there is a hierarchy in terms of time. This hierarchy defines the energetic relationship between family members. And it says that those who come first give the energy to those who come later. So if we, since he was doing constellations, so if we physically place, for example, ourselves, our family, and our parents, our ancestry, our parents and ancestry would stand behind us, and the energy would be flowing from behind forward, so that we receive from them. And clearly, when you are a child, we depend on this flow of energy. We depend on lots of attention and care from our parents to grow. Otherwise, we can't survive. So really, the energy, the universal rule is, it flows from where is much to where it's little, from the place of abundance to place of scarcity, or who needs it more. So it happens that naturally, or natural healthy good order, is when energy flows from our parents towards us, and then we pass this energy further to our children. Kind of, we are paying the debt to our parents by passing it on to our children further on. And to me, if I go back to the previous slide, it will be clear that, realistically, what we know in neurophysiology, energy flows through delta. Delta comes first, and then theta, and then alpha, and then beta. And if I go to channeling pattern, it probably will be the best one to reflect that it's absolutely not surprising that we are collecting energy from the universal field for healing, for information, and for manifestation as well. So when we try to do energy work and manifest, it happens not just in our minds, obviously, not because we want it and expect something and believe it should be like that. No way. It happens because only when it gets this proof tested through our bodies, through our hearts, it becomes alive, it becomes somatic, it becomes filled with energy. So only then we can truly, manifest something. I thought that's amazing how once again it proves how everything works. And then so hierarchy in terms of time works equally well in relation to brainwaves. And then each person in the system carries their own fate. Absolutely, in case of brainwaves, as I said before, each to their own. So everybody is important. So it's important not just to see, embrace all of them, but recognize the role they play. We do not devalue or undermine each of them, including beta, is important, but it just has to find its right place in the hierarchy, in the high order of things. So that's a little insight on the energy of energy flow from Bert Hellinger. And here I loved the most that when he was talking about all diseases and especially trauma, because his method is especially good for healing trauma, he would be saying that actually in the core of each trauma or energy distortion would be betrayal or interrupted, entangled or blocked flow of love. And I absolutely believe that this is true. And again, it fits with our theory. Plus, we were talking today about our individual consciousness, but Bert's discoveries pushed kind of my perspective to a completely different level, because honestly, he is teaching that what we carry in our field, in our cloud, in our theta, in our subconscious, we carry all our conditioning, we carry all our programming, all our own suppressed stuff, emotions, what you may call, karmic level. It sits there. It's the programming that we carry. And when you become mindful and conscious enough, you learn to look inside and transform it and change it and reprogram it. But the trick is when you start looking in there, you will find that on that level, kind of in the cloud, we are connected to our ancestors and equally to what we are trying to release and discharge with, just alpha, theta, personal transformation meditations. Something suppressed is looking to be integrated back. That energy that was cut off is seeking to be reconnected back. All these aspects of ourselves, because traumatic usually, when we are traumatized, we're just kind of in pieces, really. We just have pieces that don't come together. But it comes together through healing, and the biggest soul, the healing is about bringing it back and discharging this energy, reclaiming this energy back and optimizing the flow. So the more we get more capacity to transmit, right? We are more alive, we are healthier, we are richer on every level, even in terms of money as well. So it is interesting that on the family level, we also have this consciousness that is seeking to discharge the energies and flows of life and love suppressed by our ancestors. And often we pick on that, and often we even are re-traumatized. We get into similar life circumstances or events that force us to relieve even the karma or the pattern from our ancestors and learn the lesson and finally release, finally discharge this blocked energy and reintegrated it back into the system. So I thought it's absolutely amazing that I never thought of consciousness or subconsciousness on that bigger level where we have these layers of not just individual consciousness. So what we know with the mind mirror can be expanded further to see in bigger context of you and your genetic line of those who affected your life and the lives of your ancestors. They all come into your family system, belong to your system, and then you go to your country and cultural level, and then you go to the human level, and then you go to the whole earth level, so to say, the whole nature, the whole biosphere of earth. And then you can go to basically the source level, the creator's level, the ultimate level, and the biggest perspective. But you can see how all of this, they're just, again, another perspective and another can also be taken into consideration. And basically here I can wrap up and give you a home task, since I, as usually, made very ambitious plans for this program. So one more thing, another person very famous in the world of psychology, Carl Jung, the student of Freud, who developed his own kind of direction. I'll just read. The nature of psychic existence is such that we only become aware of the external world through the images that appear in the inner world. What we perceive outside ourselves is who we are. When I first learned about it, I was amazed, because it kind of broke the box of my perception. All these filters, I suddenly started seeing bigger picture straight away. Oh, the world mirrors. The world is the mirror. Perception is projection. So, and it's seeking to balance you. So we tend to take our most unconscious material and project it out to people and events around us. That which irritates us most in others can tell us a lot about ourselves. And individuation, in our case, I can probably say awakening as well, is necessary for a person to become whole. The psychological process of integrating the opposites, divesting self of false wrappings, including the conscious with the unconscious. So getting away from all these blockages, distortions, and entanglements where you're trapped in these default settings that no longer, they may be worked in your family life, in the country, the history, but no longer. The life is changing. It's time to unwrap. It's time to throw it away. It's time to see bigger context. And it's time to really start embracing the polarities, to rise to a higher perspective. So I leave it to you to think and ponder. I guess you know now how to answer these questions yourself, how to remain healthy, and what I mainly mean mentally healthy. And to me, it will mean spiritually healthy as well. Start there, seek there, revisit your values and all we talked about today. And which keys takeaway messages do you remember? You can unmute and share what you remember from today's speech. And as a home task, just before we unmute and finish up, I want you to do personal transformation meditation for those who never done it, because it will help you to connect with the, I'm asking you to invite, like Jung was saying, we have many parts of ourselves, we have many aspects of facets of ourselves, and many others were saying that, right? We have a child inside, we have an adult inside, and maybe some time ago our child felt abandoned in real life. And at that time, our inner child didn't have inner adult yet, so it was fully relying on adults externally. But now we are adults ourselves and most likely parents, so we need to bring all of this together. We need to balance out. If there was a child very vulnerable, very helpless, we need to bring this figure in. if there were moments when we were completely lost and betrayed ourselves, we were helpless. We didn't find any external help, and that's traumatic. That part is traumatized in us, and in challenging times it can be reactivated. So what we want to do, we want to connect and allow and give space for this helpless part, so that our wise one, our higher self one, the bigger wisdom, source consciousness, if you like, the God, could come in and take care of that part. So this will be the personal transformation meditation that will basically ask you to connect with just one part of you that wants to be recognized, seen first, of course, and then recognized for what it was doing for you, and rebalanced, for helping you to find balance. Because even when you can't admit yourself being helpless, the key is not to get stuck in this helpless role and find all others inside of you. Really, there should be more like a round table or a theater stage where everybody can have a word. So if you get stuck with inner critic, and that's my problem, I often get stuck with that one, so I have to bring in a advocate, or like, you know, lawyers would present you in the court. So I need to bring that good lawyer and say, hey, listen, there is another part that needs to have a word. So that's what your home task will be with the meditation that I want you to do. And please keep in touch via email to give me feedback in any form, and you can unmute and give feedback in any form now.
I found it very helpful, and I'm doing a lot of holotropic breath work right now, and just a lot of the psychedelic assisted stuff, and it's just all very helpful. I very much enjoyed the meditations also, so thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much. And to be an outside advocate, it's really hard to imagine you doing much wrong or more. It's just amazing how much you've put in this, and thank you so much. It's awesome.
Thank you, and please stay in touch, send me an email. I always like, you know, feedback, and spread the word. I'm continuing on my energy reading exploration, learning more. Could do probably the whole lot about trauma after what I learned with this constellations work, and again, it fully, you know, resonates, integrates into what we know that mind mirror perfect alpha theta therapy is about. This, you know, deep healing as well, trauma healing, and constellations are about trauma healing, but it's good to see it from the energy perspective, and it's good to also see it how those who help others, you know, to deal with trauma have to deal with trauma inside. So we all, as, you know, not healers, but really those in supportive professions, helping others professions, we need this skill more than anybody else. Thank you, and enjoy your night. Good night, the rest of your day, and see you some other time. Welcome to all our other meetings and meditation club.